Pierre Bourdieu sought to explain how people manage to rise to the top in societies while others, especially the poor, seem to be consistently held back. To answer this question, he proposed a theory of capital. In this theory, he presents 4 forms of capital which, when possessed, can help people climb up the social hierarchy and stay there. But when people have low amounts of these forms of capital, they do not have many doors open to them at all. The 4 forms of capital are economic, cultural, social, and symbolic capital. Each form of capital wins you clout within society, giving you greater opportunities and access, which in turn helps provide you with power within the social hierarchy. Let's explore each one. First, we have economic capital. Economic capital is the most straightforward form of capital and refers to financial resources and assets. It includes wealth, income, property, and other material assets. Economic capital can be directly converted into money and is often institutionalized in the form of property rights. For example, owning a house, having investments in stocks, or possessing a substantial amount of money in the bank can give you an advantage in life. It can help you to buy you or your children access to elite education, the materials required to start your own business, and so on. In other words, having economic capital can help you get ahead in life. But this isn't the only way that you can get ahead in life, as we'll see in the next example. Cultural capital comes in 3 forms: embodied, objectified, and institutionalized. Embodied cultural capital refers to the knowledge, skills, and education that an individual possesses. This type of capital is internalized and comes through socialization and education from a very young age. For example, speaking multiple languages, having a degree in physics, or being skilled in playing the piano are all embodied cultural capital. Similarly, speaking the native language in the native accent is a symbol of your embodied cultural capital within a society. Objectified cultural capital involves physical objects and media that transmit cultural capital. These are rare or exclusive cultural goods like books, musical instruments, or famous paintings. For example, if you own a library of classic literature or possess an original artwork, you have in your hands objectified cultural capital. Lastly, we have institutionalized cultural capital, which is recognized through academic qualifications and credentials. It provides a form of acknowledgement of your cultural capital, like a university degree. The more elite the university, the more institutionalized cultural capital you have. We can see this when going for a job interview and you feel as if the person who has an Ivy League education has a step ahead of you when you only have your state university degree. Next up, we have social capital, which is based on the networks, connections, and relationships that you have. It is the resources you gain through being part of a network of social relationships, including exclusive group memberships, relationships, and access to resources controlled by others. An example of social capital is having a friend in a high place who can make you an introduction to a potential employer and thereby give you a leg up when you look for a job. People with high social capital tend to have a lot of contacts. Not only this, but their contacts tend to be people who also have a lot of contacts, so you are a well-connected person. Our 4th form of capital is symbolic capital. This refers to the prestige, recognition, and social honor that you might possess. It is often a transformation of one of the other forms of capital into a form that is perceived as prestigious by the people around you. For example, being awarded a prestigious prize, such as a Nobel Prize, not only signifies your intellectual achievement, which would be cultural capital, but also confers a high level of prestige and recognition, which transfers this into symbolic capital. So, what does all this mean? Well, Bourdieu's theory opens the door to a lot of sociological critique of how the elite and powerful rub elbows with one another to share cultural and social capital in their small elite groups, which helps them to sustain their power while the poor remain excluded from accessing social and cultural capital and, therefore, remain poor. For example, if your parents are rich and powerful, they likely also have rich and powerful friends, contacts within elite schools, and so forth to help you gain cultural and social capital for yourself. The poor, on the other hand, do not have much access to these forms of capital through themselves or through their parents, and this is how inequality is entrenched throughout the generations. But I want to leave you with one way this theory is particularly relevant to all of us as individuals. It reminds us that attending college or university isn't just about developing knowledge and skills. It's about obtaining the institutionalized cultural capital that your university degree gives you, as well as developing the social contacts through, for example, professors and internships that are possibly even more important than intelligence when walking into a job interview. Bourdieu's theory shows that when walking into a job interview after university, you're not just assessed on your talents. The quality of your graduating university will give you cultural clout, which often implicitly plays a part in the decision-making of the hiring committee. Similarly, the job applicant who has existing social contacts with the hiring committee, for example through their internship, is likely to have an advantage over other applicants who the committee has never heard of. The key message here: don't just rely on developing your intellect. Work on developing your cultural and social capital as well in order to obtain upward social mobility.